Let's do this.
Let's.
Do you think, is our song moshable, Jared? Wondering
Moshable?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if people could be like moshing.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to write a more mosh pit version. We should play it
Is that what
sometime.
you feel like we need?
That's exactly what
Why
the people.
mosh
That's
pit?
what the people want, Jared.
How'd you come up with that, Stancy?
I don't know. It just the vibe kind of is this happy vibe, and maybe we need a more intense vibe. You know, really. Exactly. Well, hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here recording episode 275 today, and we are talking about taboo topics. So make sure you have your earmuffs ready for your young children who are in the car riding along with you while you're listening. Make sure you got your pen and paper ready to jot down all the taboo topics so you know what to avoid or how to ruffle some feathers or rustle some jimmies if that's what you're into as well. So stay tuned today. We'll be talking about some different taboo topics in discussion and why that might be. So without further ado, my partner in crime and my good buddy, what's going on, Jared?
Hello. Not much is going on. It's a lovely day here in Michigan. I'm enjoying it. Sunny out. There's some fresh snow. That's how it should be in winter.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. Follow us at Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram.
Spread a little love.
On Twitter is Untranslatable1, the number one. Although, let's be honest, if you put an Untranslatable Podcast, we're probably the only ones that would come up. You could also, please, give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. That would be great. Or you could even, send us some untranslatables or something. Speaking of which, I learned a great $5 word the other day, and I had to write it down and just because I need to somehow find a way to incorporate this into my lifestyle. I do have a word of the day widget thing on my phone because I like to see the words. Actually, today's word is ragamuffin.
A ragamuffin, that is not like someone who is... I've heard the term used before.
I've never heard this before.
Heard the term, I've heard it used by older white ladies before.
A ragged, often disreputable person.
Oh, there you go. So like a
anyway,
hooligan?
that's not the word.
Scoundrel.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, a hooligan is. I like that word, hooligan.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the word I learned.
What's your $5 word?
Solipsistic. Do you know what that word means?
Yeah. If you're solipsistic, it means you're like. Kind of means it's hard to. It doesn't mean you only care about yourself, but it's like you're only. Am I going down the right path or no?
I would argue you are going down the right path, but I would say it does mean extreme. It means extremely egotistic or egocentric.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I heard it in a movie, and just when it came out, he's like, "You're so solipsistically." I was like, "Wow, that's
a good word.
That was a big word right there." But that was Malcolm and Marie, a good movie. I saw another movie this weekend or yesterday, actually, The Untouchables, Les Untouchables.
Oh yeah, finally, huh?
Dude, that movie was great.
It's awesome, isn't it?
That movie was awesome. I loved it. It was funny. It had heart. Mm-hmm. It was great. I liked it.
Yeah, it's a solid movie, The Untouchables. It's so
the French one also.
Yeah. Yes,
not the Kevin Hart one.
Right. They remade it with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, but the concept of the movie is there's a very wealthy gentleman he's paraplegic, right?
I think it's more than that, quadriplegic, because he doesn't have movement from his neck down.
Right, and so he needs help, and he ends up hiring this. I'm pretty sure he was an African immigrant to look after him.
He said he's from Senegal.
Yep. Thank you. And so and they develop kind of this great friendship and bond over time. But there's ups and downs. But I will say the fact that. I've seen the French one and I've seen the one with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, and the obviously the one with Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart. That one is they've taken that movie and just kind of Hollywoodified it, if that's a term. You know what I mean?
So how can you explain because I don't really have any interest in watching it. Could you explain to me the Bryan Cranston Kevin Hart version?
I mean, so it's kind of similar, so Bryan Cranston's this big wig, kind of similar guy, but he's in New York City. Kevin Hart, had this rough upbringing. Wasn't a Senegalese immigrant or anything.
Right.
You know, but yeah, it's just different. Like the whole interplay is different. It's not as playful and lighthearted, I don't think, like the Kevin Hart, Bryan Cranston version of the Untouchables.
They do? You know what they did so well in the French Untouchables is they always had like these sort of like oh, you made me laugh, like I didn't want to, but you made me laugh vibe going on. Or it's like, fine, you got me.
Yeah.
Did they manage to do that in the Bryan Cranston Kevin Hart one?
There were a couple moments like that. I mean, obviously Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart are, fantastic actors, super talented.
I think the problem I think my problem with what I imagine about it is I don't take Kevin Hart that seriously,
Right.
So I'd be interested to see how he plays a character that with like heart rather than just comedy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Right. I don't know, but.
And I'm not a deep enough into film studies or anything to give you an in-depth analysis on that. But I will say if you had to pick one or the other, with me seeing both, my go-to would definitely be the original French version of the Untouchables.
Yeah, I can imagine. Once again, though, I'll say this: the subtitles suck. I mean, they're fine in the sense that you get what's going on, but they really cut corners and just give you essentially the point of what they're saying rather than what they're saying.
Right. That's how they get
like,
you.
Come on, just why are you dumbing it down for us? Just translate the words.
Right. But hey, you should know best, Jared, being the co-host of the Untranslatable podcast, that sometimes it's just not that easy.
I understand that sometimes with like an untranslatable or something, they'll give you like an American equivalent or something like that. But to just like it really does almost feel like they're dumbing it down from like maybe some sort of local French food or something, rather just saying a more generic food that everyone knows. Where it's like don't dumb it down to the point where it's just like they're talking about steak, essentially is what they're
right.
It's like they're essentially talking about it's like just say the word, even if it's some French food we don't know or something. Like what I said with some other French movie I saw recently where they said little car instead of deux chevaux, which is the actual
exactly.
a 2CV, which is the car. It's like just say the car.
Still not as good as the what was it? MRT?
Yeah,
Mr.
MR2,
whatever it was.
Oh yeah, the MR2.
Yeah. MR2. That's just great.
So that always kind of bothers me a little bit, but I still love the movie. It was good.
That's cool though. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So let's also just quickly talk about a quick little shout out to the what's the guy's Instagram again? The Session, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I think we both tuned into it last night, and I actually was able to stay awake the whole time this time, Jared. I didn't fall asleep and conk out early.
Totally missed it. You're like, all right, I'll watch it at 11. I was like, it's at 10.
Yep. That's why I need Jared in my life for many reasons, people. But anyway, so what this guy does is he does Instagram live streams where he breaks down music, and he will break down the different instrumentation, the different parts of it. He'll break down the vocals. He'll talk about it, and his banter is also kind of funny. Like, it's kind of interesting, the way he talks about it a lot and his reactions. Well, when this drops, it'll be after a week after he's done it, more or less, kind of. But
he does it every day almost.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Okay. I only watch him on Saturday nights. But
yeah, he does them all the time.
Okay. But this was like his 420th, and it was also Bob Marley's birthday, so he covered all sorts of really, he covered what?
That's actually, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Well, so he covered Get Up, Stand Up, and he covered a couple of them, didn't he?
Yeah, because he did it actually a little differently this time. Usually on just a normal day, he breaks down like two songs, so he'll just do a full, like, what he did with Get Up, Stand Up, where it was a full breakdown.
It's like a deep dive.
He usually does that on like a song or two every day. This is the first time where he did a full breakdown on Get Up, Stand Up, but then he sort of like played a whole bunch of other Bob Marley songs, and without going into a deep on each part of them, he just played played different parts of them by themselves and then mixed them back in. But he didn't talk about them like he usually does in depth. But it was still cool. It was like a little DJ. It was like a DJ session after he did Get Up Stand Up, which I've actually never witnessed him do like that. But it was cool. I always like to tune in because even if I don't. I was excited for Bob Marley because, I generally know most of those famous songs, like most people do.
Right.
So it was cool. It's always cool to hear a song, but sometimes, you get some of the songs that you've never heard of, and it's just like, and those are the most fun ones to really, enjoy because it's like, I don't even, it's just like a song I never considered, but there's so much to it that I like now.
That's what's so fun about it, too, is just the way the guy breaks them down. It's just super awesome. So yeah, that was super cool. Check him out on Instagram. Let me actually find his correct
The
tag
Session
here.
Live.
Thank you, Jared. The Session Live. Check him out. Early shout out to him because he's producing some great content. Check that out, especially if you like music. And I will say that inspired our song of the pod, which we'll talk about later. So stay tuned for that, people.
I have a shout out too, by the way.
Great.
I don't know if you have do you have another shout out?
I do, but go ahead. Get us started, Jared.
All right. Spread a little love. Spread a little love after you did. I'm gonna share my screen. I want to show you something. You're a shoe person. I mean, not like a sneaker head by any means, but you enjoy a good pair of sneakers. You know.
I appreciate a solid shoe.
Let me know what you think of these right here.
Oh, I'm excited. I've seen these. They're interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic, but it's interesting the concept because I've seen videos of people like basically slipping them on and off, which is kind of funny. Because
they're called go ahead.
It's just kind of funny because I don't know about you, Jared, but I've been slipping my shoes on and off for years now. I mean, most of my shoes I don't lace them tight enough,
Yeah, but no. I thought you meant like Vans or something. Because even those
too.
But even those you have to bend over to you can't really put a pair of Vans on without bending over and reaching down to lock it in.
Right.
This shoe you can literally you just push your foot in, and the way it's set up, you can just push your foot down and it'll lock in, and then you can somehow lift your foot up. And you hold the back and lift your foot up and it pops out.
Exactly.
Do you know they're called the Go Fly E's? They look very futuristic. I'll say this. They look like they look like shoes from 2070 or something. When everyone's wearing silver jumpsuits, they're also going to be wearing these shoes.
I will say this though. I think the color scheme on this Nike shoe actually makes it look a little bit older. I feel like if they used a more futuristic type of color scheme, it would look even more futuristic.
I bet you they'll have more colors.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
But anyway, the reason do you know why these shoes or what started the process of making these shoes? That's what the shout out is about. So yeah, they're called the Nike Go Fly E's. That's an interesting name. So the design came from the shoe has people with disabilities in mind. So in 2012, here I'll just read it to you. In 2012, Matthew Waltzer, a teen with cerebral palsy, wrote to Nike asking for athletic shoes for disabled people. Nike invited him to collaborate in the design of the original adaptive Nike Fly E shoe. So it's specifically made with people with disabilities in mind. So that's why there's a specific design of not bending over and being able to put on a shoe more easily without the motions.
That's really cool.
I think that is cool. Yeah, I think that's cool for Matthew. He actually did this. So in 2012, Matthew Waltzer was 16. And that's when it all started. So I think it's cool that someone, some young kid was able to kind of have a shoe influenced by him. Not kind of, just have a shoe influenced by him. I might be into these if they were a different color. And I'm sure they'd come in a different color. I think, I'm a square. I'm a boring person. I think I would probably prefer a more less colors.
Give me those all black. Or black and silver?
Black and white, or like a black and white or black and silver. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want all black, but I could do like a black and white, black and silver kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I could do that.
Give me that
but
same
primarily
black color
black.
as the all black Air Forces. Just give me that color black. We're good to go.
Yeah, there you go. Sure. Yeah. You know what? I'm picturing like a samba in my head as the color choice, but that's because that's the only that's like the shoe I wear 85% of the time.
Right. I've been rocking the slip-ons for a while lately, just being lazy. I have another shout out for today, Jared, and this shout out is actually it's cool for two reasons. Number one, it is Black History Month. I'm surprised we actually haven't talked about this earlier on the pod, but it is Black History Month. And so here's the headline. Meet the black woman who created VoIP, the technology behind
VoIP.
Skype, Zoom, and more, or VoIP, sure. Most people have no idea that, do you know this woman, Jared, by chance?
No, I've heard of VoIP, but
Okay.
I don't know who invented it.
So
I don't know much about it.
Have no idea that Marion Croak, an African-American woman, is credited with initiating and furthering the development of VoIP, also known as Voice over Internet Protocol. Her groundbreaking technology allows people to efficiently communicate through audio and or video while using the internet.
So we're using VoIP right now?
Yeah, that's right. So if it wasn't for Marion, we would not be here right now, Jared. I don't even know what we would be doing for a podcast because we've been doing remote since we started.
This podcast started a remote way before a pandemic.
Right. We were remote before it was cool. That should be a t-shirt right there, Jared. All right, but here's the backstory here because I do want to give this remarkable woman some credit here. So Marion, who holds a PhD in quantitative analysis from the University of Southern California, has more than 125 patents in VoIP technology. She has worked at AT&T for more than 30 years in data services and is currently a senior vice president at the company. She manages over 2,000 world-class engineers and computer scientists responsible for over 500 programs impacting AT&T's enterprise and consumer wireline and mobility services.
And this is the inventor of VoIP?
I don't know if she's the inventor of it, but I think she's the one who has right here. The sentence says is credited with initiating and furthering the development of it.
Okay.
So I can't definitively say she invented it, but she's
that's
taken
the only
it
reason
further.
I asked because I just typed in VoIP inventor, and it didn't say her, but it didn't say she invented it. I was just curious. She just was probably involved very early on with developing it, it seems like.
And right here, Jared, this sentence I think will sum it up. Marion's contribution to VoIP has literally taken the internet to a new level, but sadly, most people have no idea who she is. So let's give her a shout out, some serious recognition.
Spread a little
to
love.
You, Dr. Marion Croak. That's awesome. All the work you've done, and we really appreciate it. We literally wouldn't be here without you.
That is cool. That's really cool. I love hearing stuff like that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into some untranslatables?
Oh, of course I do. And untranslatables are idioms, proverbs, sayings, axioms that don't always translate on a one-to-one basis into English. And we are your tried and true certified untranslatable professionals to decipher them for your listening and learning pleasure. You want to get us started today, Jared?
Sure. My first one is Greek. Sao erikse kai. I believe kai. Is that how they would say X? Kai.
I think
because
right?
when I looked at the Greek alphabet's different than ours. So when I translated it and they wrote it out phonetically in the translator, it wrote X as just CH. But I'm like, is it ch?
No, it should be Kai, I think, right?
That's what I thought. That's why I was confused. Anyway, maybe that's how, I don't know. Anyway, it means to throw you an X.
Throw you an X. Is it like I'm assuming this is negative, right? To throw you an X, is that to
probably,
is it to tell somebody off?
No, you're in a general ballpark.
To insult someone?
No, not necessarily insult someone. It's not necessarily an insult.
To talk, not necessarily an
but it can be. It can be.
So an unintentional insult.
No. It means no. To throw you an X. So let's say here. I'll give you an easy. The Super Bowl is happening tomorrow, or in the case of people listening to this, it happened 4 days ago, and you text me, you're like, hey Jared, you want to come to my house and I'm throwing a Super Bowl party. Don't worry, it's super safe. I'm only having like 10-15 people over, and they and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to throw you an X on that one.
So just like to politely decline.
To turn someone down. It doesn't have to be politely, but
turn somebody down. All right, yeah. I like that. Yeah, from an X. Okay,
to throw you an X.
Okay,
that's gonna be an
Jared,
X for me.
Well, Jared, after you threw me an X, you could say that I. The untranslatable is zu tief. It's German. Zu tief ins Glas schauen.
Too shallow in.
Too deep.
Oh,
zu tief. Ins Glas schauen.
Too deep in glass to show.
To look too deep in the glass.
Oh, okay. To look too deep in the glass. Oh, it's like you're overthinking something. Or you're blowing something out of proportion.
What do you usually have in your glass?
Whiskey. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, good.
Oh, okay.
Good, okay.
Oh, is it to be drunk?
I think so, yeah. Yep.
Oh, that kind of makes sense. Yep. That's actually kind of similar. It wouldn't be that weird for someone in America to say like they're deep into their cups.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of a similar thing.
Right. Yeah, or I think there was, I don't remember the phrase, but I thought there's some other phrase about drinking and seeing the bottom of the glass or the bottom of the bottle or something. Anyways, what else do you have for me, Jared?
I'll give you another Greek one. Treche kai den ftene. Running without arriving.
Running without arriving. Oh man, where do I even begin with this one? I have so many ideas.
Constantly running without arriving.
Is it? So it's. I wonder, are these like unkept promises?
No, I see what you're saying though.
Okay,
but it's more like
more literal than that.
No, you're in the right level of metaphorical right now.
Okay. I don't want to get too much more metaphorical or too much less metaphorical here.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Running without arriving. So someone's
is it to procrastinate?
I would say it's maybe the opposite actually.
Oh, to work too much?
Yes. Someone that's always busy.
Okay.
So that kind of thing where it's like you're constantly running, but
you never arrive.
You're never getting anywhere. It never ends.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. I like that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me give us a Chinese untranslatable. We'll see if I pronounce this one right. It's been a little while since I've tried to speak any Mandarin lately. Not that I can speak it to begin with. Anyways. Okay. San Jiao Mao. San Jiao Mao.
Are you listening to it? Is that
I'm not actually. I'm not. Okay. And this means three-legged cat.
It's untrustworthy. Someone that's untrustworthy. That means
no.
Bad luck's coming your way.
Also, no. I could see where you would think that, I guess, but not quite. Let me see here. Well, think about this. Think about this, Jared. Or here, maybe this will help. So the three-legged cat first appeared in a literary work in the Ming Dynasty. In this work, the three-legged cat is good at catching mice, but not very good at walking. Maybe that clue will help you out a little bit.
Good at catching mice, but not very good at walking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like a one-trick pony kind of thing.
Yeah, you could say that.
Or like a single talent.
Kind of.
Why would a three-legged cat be good at hunting but not walking? Oh, because they can run but can't walk?
Maybe.
Or something?
Yeah, maybe. Could be, yeah. Well, so I think you're getting way deeper and more philosophical than the info I have in front of me.
This is too metaphorical.
Anyways, a three-legged cat means someone who is not skillful or master in the professional field. People usually look down on someone who is considered a three-legged cat, and then it goes on to explain, it appeared during the Ming Dynasty to describe someone with unprofessional skills but superficial knowledge. So there you go.
Okay. All right, I'll give you one more. Why not? I also have a Portuguese one, and it's empurar com a barriga. How would you say that? Barriga. I feel like they don't really go
barriga. Barriga?
Barriga. Oh yeah, RR would be
barriga. Yeah.
I can't do that. To push something with your barriga, your belly.
To be lazy. To be like it's like a food coma.
Extremely. You know what? I'm going to give it to you. I don't think it's even food coma related, but it technically means to procrastinate. But I'm going to give it to you because you said to be lazy, and I think that's.
I mean, that is
being
kind of
lazy is sort of a symptom of So I'm going to give that to you.
We should do an episode on procrastination, Jared. I don't think we've done
the
one.
art of procrastination.
The art and the danger as well. Because there are some things where you got to be really careful if you procrastinate.
Were you ever an all-nighter person in college?
Never all-nighter. I value sleep too much to be an all-nighter. But I was the type of person I'd work as late as I could. And then when I noticed I'd start to kind of doze off or just couldn't focus anymore, I'd try to sleep and then wake up early and finish it. To me, that
Smart
works
move.
better for me than for staying up all night.
And it seems to me that not sleeping at all is much worse for you.
Oh, for sure. Well, then your whole next day is shot.
Than cramming and then not sleeping,
Right. Oh, definitely. I got one more untranslatable for you, Jared. This one is also Chinese, and it has the number 3. I just realized both of these have the number 3 in them. Xiao San, and this means little 3. Little 3. Think about when do we have the term 3 or maybe third in an idiom or untranslatable in English, Jared?
Rule of thirds?
Nope.
So it's like a rule of threes. Celebrities have to die in threes.
Also not that, no.
Little 3? Oh, third time's a charm, maybe?
No.
Three's company. I'm trying to think.
Ooh, you're getting warmer. Warmer.
The more the merrier, is that what it means? Little 3. Three's a crowd, 4's a party.
You're like your toes are in the water. You're getting so close.
Is it something to do with like you need 3 ride or die homies? Everyone needs 3 ride or dies.
I wouldn't say this relates to the homies.
Little 3, my kids? Is it kids?
But if your homie was a little 3, you might have some serious beef with your homie. I guess if your homie was your girl's little 3, you might have some beef with your homie.
Is a little 3 like a partner, a relationship partner?
It is the other woman or man intruding in your relationship.
Oh,
like a third wheel.
I
was thinking third wheel. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize just how many 3-related sayings I could just blast off, or excuse me, untranslatables I could just blast off like that.
Yeah, they are the third. Yeah, so these are the third person, which Chinese created a new word. Little 3 means mistress or the other man. Furthermore, if a person has not only one affair, he or she would have little 4, little 5, etc.
So it's like I see. It's like the smaller extra people on the relationship.
Yep.
They're like they're like technically the third part of this relationship, but they're kind of like a smaller position.
Right.
Huh.
Exactly.
I like that. The little 3.
I think that's a good segue into our main topic today, which is taboo topics, because I think affairs, extramarital affairs and partners and relationships and sex in general,
sure, of course,
are all very taboo topics.
Well, sex and affairs are I mean, they're not two different things, but
they're related. Yeah,
sure, of course. But I'm saying
both very scandalous, though, depending on the culture we're talking about.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think sex in general is a taboo, but yeah, I mean, nobody wants to talk about the idea of an affair being a taboo topic. That kind of makes sense, though. Nobody wants to admit that they're being unfaithful. That's not
right.
That's
no one wants to bring to light their little 3 or 4 or 5.
But I think the weird thing about taboo topics to me is that these things, it's not like an affair. Someone, for the most part, probably isn't like necessarily proud of it or really like stands firmly by these positions, you know. But when we talk about taboo topics, these are topics that you can't talk about, that mostly because they do have such like cause such strong opinions from people, you know. So, like everyone can agree that like an affair is bad, you know, for the most part.
I think, your average person, definitely.
But like when we talk about like taboo topics, I think that stuff that like you can't agree that something like, you know, one person has a view that what you believe is bad and the other person believes the opposite, you know, and it's just like, well, then let's just not talk about it and avoid that.
Right. Yeah, I think depending on the culture you live in, it can really influence what you can and can't talk about, right? Because I know in some cultures, religion it's okay to talk about, especially if that country tends to have a more homogeneous religious background, you know. So if it's a majority Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or whatever, then I think it's, you know, you have more, I guess the thing with taboo is I think we try to avoid, as I said in the intro of today's episode, we try to avoid offending or ruffling any feathers that we don't know about, you know, for all you know, I could
or even that you do, though. Like even like you hear people all the time, especially with Trump having just been our president, be like, I have to go to, you know, I go to family gatherings and it's just we all agree we're not going to talk about politics because it's going to get ugly at the Thanksgiving table, you know.
Right.
And so like I think it's, you know, I think it's that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think there's a level of also vulnerability, I think, with a lot of these taboo topics where, you know, if you talk about religion or politics or even sex, like you're kind of you're really exposing yourself. You know, if I go to a party, especially in Dexter where I'm currently at, if I go to a party, which I wouldn't be doing right now anyways, but if I did, and I started talking about how, you know, oh yeah, I really like Bernie and blah blah blah, I guarantee you I would piss off quite a few people.
That
probably
communist,
you know. Exactly. That leftist swine, you know, all those things. You know, same thing with if you were to go to like a very traditional area and you were to talk about premarital sex, people would be like, what are you doing? You know, we don't talk about that here. You know, so I think another really important aspect with taboo conversation topics is really also knowing how to read a room. I think can be really helpful, because, you know, it's one thing if you want to make a joke or something, you know, just be very careful and tread lightly if you know your joke does have something that could be considered, you know, political.
I had a coworker in the past, and you know, another part of like taboo topics is also like language and stuff like that, swearing and swear words.
Oh, for sure.
And it would blow my mind, like in work situations, just how comfortable he was around
I
people.
I think you've told me about this coworker. I think I'm pretty sure
it would just, it still blows my mind. Just like the level of comfort where it's like you're going in like to meetings and conversations with people, you know, you don't really interact with on a normal basis, or are like a much higher position than you. Yet you're still willing to talk to them the same way you just talk, which I think is one very good, but then also is just like it is like how are you so confident to just know that this is not gonna go over bad?
How are you not going to get fired after?
Or
after
someone's not gonna find it slightly offensive somehow. Like, I mean, I don't care.
Right.
It's just more shocking to me because I would never do something like that.
Right. Well, I think maybe he's been. I'm assuming it's a he. Maybe he's just been doing it for quite a while, and I guess so. Maybe it's kind of his thing. Maybe it's like his shtick. Like maybe people.
I guess it's genuine too, and it's not even that. It's not even that there were like a lot of like. And he doesn't make like. It's not like sexual jokes or anything like that. It's just like the language level. Right. It's just like
I told Jimmy that was bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like, just like that. I'm just like, I don't know how you do that.
That's how he does it, though. He just slides them in real calm and smooth. That's how he does it.
I would just never have that level of confidence in a work situation.
Yeah, swear words are a big one, though. I mean, especially like if you're near or in public or around children. Like if you accidentally say swear word and then their kids are around,
or even around like religious people, if you drop the GD or something like that,
right?
Saying the Lord's name in vain.
Well, I remember I was in 8th grade, I think 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and my buddy Evan and I were just goofing around with each other, and I think I said the word prostitute. I was like 14 or 15. I said the word prostitute. Ooh. And this one kid, his mom was like very, very Christian and very, and she heard me say prostitute and she freaked out.
Is prostitute it's not a bad word. That's just the word.
Yep.
What were you talking about?
I don't even remember.
Were you talking about you were going to hire a prostitute?
No, I think we were joking around and just like insulting each other. I think my buddy called me a whore and I was like, well, you're a prostitute or, something, which is essentially the same thing. But, we were just like, it was just goofy, stupid 14-year-old boy banter. You know what I mean? Like it was just, and this was like after baseball practice, we were walking back to our cars. And then when she heard the word prostitute leave my lips, she just went ballistic, like ran behind me and was like, who said that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dear Lord, lady, calm down.
I've been around some religious people when I was a kid too, and the big one like at school and stuff was oh my God, you have to say oh my gosh.
Well, especially you went to a private religious school too.
Not an elementary school.
That's true. That was later.
That was more in like in high school and 6th grade for 1 year before I went to Germany. But because it was mostly high school essentially, at that point, people were, we were all degenerates at that point anyway. So people
that's fair.
We're saying way worse stuff than oh my God.
Right. So
but that was big when I was like a kid.
How about we go through, Jared, and let's just brainstorm a list together of some other,
sure, we
like
can just,
some of the most taboo stuff, and then I'd like to maybe peel back the onion a little bit further and try to figure out maybe why some of these things are taboo topics.
Well, we have the classic big three.
Yep, which are sex, religion, and politics. I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And which I find especially the sex one kind of funny, considering if you're a millennial or even a Gen Xer, depending on how old you are, your parents might have been baby boomers, which they were all about the free love hippie generation. Obviously, not everybody.
They're called the baby boomers because they were having a lot of sex.
well, no, they're called baby boomers
because their parents were.
Because their parents.
That's
after
right.
World Wars.
No, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Because that's what you do after World Wars, Jared. Is you just go crazy.
That's true. But yeah, for sure. Wait, what were you talking about? You said sex?
Yep. So I understand to some level why it's taboo a little bit,
but it's weird though if you look at like social media though, because that's really like the sort of the taboo of it is
in
really,
general.
That's true. Our media is mostly run by sex.
Yeah.
And sex appeal. That's true.
Sex sells.
And
that's what they
capitalism. Say. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But I mean, the idea of sex being taboo, I think, makes some sense. That's one of I think that's one of the ones that I'm not going to say I agree with, but it makes perfect sense to me. The fact that people would want that to be private to me is understandable.
It's a very private and intimate matter,
and it really is no one else's business. So that one. I think, but sometimes, and listen, I'm kind of a prude myself. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes if I like, I'm listening to like, I'm not a huge fan of like friends that like talk about like escapades,
the dirty
and stuff.
details.
Yeah, it's like I don't need to know exactly. Like I get it. I I don't need to know the play-by-play. I get that it happens.
And then at 7 minutes and 32 seconds in, we decided to switch.
Or they're like when they're I'm kind of a but so that one makes sense to me. That one makes sense to me.
Sure. But I will say this though. I do think that I understand why sex is taboo. I think a lot of it also stems from religion as well. I think most or a lot of religions, premarital sex is kind of a big no-no. If you look at, technically speaking, Christianity, it's definitely a sin. Islam, that's also, no
probably Judaism as well. I'd imagine.
Yep.
It's a. Yep. No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, most of the major religions, having sex outside of marriage is strongly frowned upon.
Right.
And most of those three religions have built up most of society.
Right.
So yeah, that makes sense.
I will say this though: the only negative aspect about sex being such a taboo topic is, I think a lot of kids don't have the right resources or know where to gain access to the right resources, or even are able to have a conversation with their parents about something like that. Like, to be completely honest with you, I mean, I couldn't really tell you if or when, like, either of my parents really sat me down and had like a birds and the bees talk. Like, they had always, said, be careful. My mom, what she always told me when I was younger was just make sure it's with someone you actually love and care about, and make sure you're safe, protecting yourself.
My mom said, don't get anyone pregnant. That's what she said.
Nice. Yep. I mean, that's what my parents indirectly said with be safe, wear protection. But that was like it, but maybe for some people that's enough of a conversation. I don't know.
I don't think it is. I don't think, I mean, obviously a lot of people will learn on their own, but I don't think that is.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that. I mean, you better hope you have a partner that is understanding and patient and willing to also help you, because I think some people aren't always great at communicating. But see, that's another issue with the reason why with sex being taboo. I think it does make it difficult for some people to actually talk about their wants, needs, and desires.
I mean, for a lot of people, it's taboo even in their most intimate relationships. They still there are a lot of people that still struggle to talk about it and stuff like that, for sure. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Sex is gross and embarrassing and wrong and sinful, and you're going to go to hell for doing it.
Well, we're all going to hell anyways, Jared, so we might as well enjoy our time while we can.
All right, let's do another one.
Okay, well, let's talk about the big three. So we can cross sex off of our list. Let's go to politics. I mean, politics is, I think it's pretty straightforward why this one, as you mentioned, with like your parents at Thanksgiving or your family.
But I think the thing about politics though is it makes up I don't think politics should be as taboo as sex. These are like your views on how society should be run. I understand why you wouldn't want to have a conversation about it, and it could cause a problem why it's taboo. But it's like politics is intertwined in so much of society. Right. Like, I hate those people that say like I don't talk about politics or whatever. Like, I'm not a political expert or anything, but it's like just to have that sort of blanket statement is so ridiculous, because it's like how could you? I don't understand how you could say you opt out of it, really, because it has so much influence on your life and society and every part of society.
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't believe in the system anymore.
Sure, but that's not why it's taboo.
Well, I think the reason why it's taboo is because our political beliefs, I think, are some of the most personally intertwined idealistic things we have. Or ideological things we have, right? Like, if you really think about it, some people, they are very conservative for certain reasons. A lot of times what studies have shown is it's actually they tend to base faith and safety and security over everything else, more or less. Whereas then liberals, and
we all know. Okay, go ahead.
Whereas liberals, it's more about the equality. Right, it's more about fairness. It's more about wanting to make sure that the people who don't have the same opportunities can still have a chance. And it's But politics are tricky as well, because if you just look at how different politics are around the world. You know, that's what also I think adds another layer of complexity to talking about politics.
Yeah. Well, I No, I understand. And it's annoying for us as Americans specifically because we always get. I mean, even probably pre-Trump, even though I'm sure it's going to be worse now. But we've always been a country that's sort of been made fun of, our politics and stuff has always sort of been made fun of by other countries.
Well,
I think, what are you guys doing over there kind of thing.
Well, the fact that we have a two-party system for a country as huge and as diverse as it is,
yeah, I mean, our healthcare is kind of a disaster. Our education is kind of a disaster.
Our infrastructure also isn't great. If we're being completely honest,
that's true. I think there's some stat that like most of the bridges and like tunnels in the Detroit area are like out of spec or whatever. Like they're past their time of usage. But we don't have the money or whatever apparently to do anything about it.
Right. Yeah. Well, politics, it's also a mixed bag because another aspect that is tied into politics a little bit is also nationalism, right? So if you think about it, like I just remember I always had to tread very lightly when I was in China and people would ask me political questions. I would always happily give them my opinion on American political matters, but the moment it had anything related to the Chinese government or anything else, I shut my trap.
So what was it? I would imagine it would be taboo to talk about the Chinese government in China.
Yes, it is. That's why I didn't talk about it.
But I'm saying for them too. But they have no problem bringing up these topics that might be controversial.
Well, see, here's the thing. So the topics they were bringing up wouldn't be controversial because they were asking me about American stuff. And then a lot of times what would happen is what most people do when you talk about different cultures is my students would go, oh, it's really interesting that it's like that in the U.S. Here, it's like this. And they were just kind of telling me about things.
Right. So they're not saying anything controversial, but you have to make sure you're not... Yeah, you're like putting your opinions or anything.
Like
in
I
there.
didn't make any evaluative statements after they would say like, "Oh, well, this is I'll never forget."
Interesting.
Right, like I'll never forget. I was sitting in the office of my, he's like the vice dean of the university, so he's a very very important figure at the university. I remember sitting there and asking him about his research and stuff. And it turns out he researches, it's really fascinating. I forget the terminology now, but he researches language in courts. And he had been in England and had witnessed the way that they do, just the judicial language they use in courts in England. And then he was doing it in China. Anyways, long story short, I remember him telling me that in China, the rate of being incarcerated or being found guilty is like 99%. And when he told me that, like, it would have been very easy to make some snide comment, but I didn't.
Well, especially that would be hilarious coming from an American, because we have the highest incarceration rates in the world. So.
Right.
But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. It's like, because I mean, now I'm scared to say something, but it's like, I'm sure if you get to that point in where you're in court like that, you have very little representation for yourself, you do here in the U.S., for example.
Well, and even here, you have to be careful.
No, I don't. Well, I think here it's more just about how much money you have. It depends on how good of your chances, really.
I would agree with you there for sure.
It's more just money based.
And the other reason why politics, I think, is also will continue to be a taboo thing for quite some time is number one, that I think a lot of people are very uninformed politically. Not that I'm super informed either, because I'm not. But the other reason is in a lot of countries, if you say anything negative politically, there can be severe consequences. And I just want to take a second to say that the Americans listening, we need to really be thankful that we can criticize our government. And, just the fact that we can tweet shit about our government and not get locked up or sent somewhere, never to be seen again. We are very lucky. We really are.
Yeah, there are certainly certain instances that I feel like I've heard one that happened recently in a country somewhere where someone insulted the government and got arrested, but then it was just like just disappeared. That was it. We don't know what happened kind of situation.
Right.
then that's sort of the end of it. There's nothing you can, that's it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about politics. It obviously makes sense, but I wish people would be more sort of have more confidence in their views, But I think it's just trying to. I don't even think it's right. I understand what you're saying, but I honestly, no, I get it. I shouldn't even be saying that. It's taboo because people aren't trying to start arguments at work. That's why it's a taboo.
Yes, it's also taboo. I think because a lot of people. Politics is one of those weird things, Jared, where a lot of times you can't explain why you think the way you think. I think at least a lot of people that I know, when
you can't change people's mind.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like I think it's important to have a dialogue about politics and be able to discuss politics, but a lot of people, I think, if you are going into a conversation thinking you will change someone's mind or opinion, you're already losing. You've already lost, for sure. All right, so we've talked about politics, we've talked about sex. Now we need to talk about religion, right?
Oh yeah.
And I got my church behind me.
That was kind of obvious, right?
You didn't. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't make a comment earlier. Do you know where this is?
I was going to ask you at some point where that was. Yeah,
Stephansdom.
Oh, I didn't even recognize
in Vienna.
It.
Yep.
Okay. And your chair is kind of blocking, but yeah, I see what you. I was going to ask at some point, but
Yep.
Okay, I thought you were never coming back.
never coming back.
I was like, Chad?
That's the history of the Untranslatable podcast.
I mean, religion is obvious. There are so many. There are three main religions, but even within those, there are thousands of sects.
Sects.
The three big religions generally don't get along. Then within those religions, the sects within their own religions don't really get along either.
Right.
It's like a Protestant versus a Catholic person kind of thing.
I will say this though, Jared. I think there is some similarity actually to the reaction people have when you question their politics or their religion. I think there tends to be a similar type of, because both of those things are so ingrained in your identity, at least if faith is important.
Yeah, your religion for most, I don't know about most, but for a number of people defines their, partially defines their political leanings.
You know what's interesting about that, Jared? I would argue actually that the reason why politics nowadays, at least in the U.S., is such a difficult topic for a lot of people to discuss is I truly believe that I think a lot of political ideologies have replaced religious ideologies. So if you look at just the way certain people, I mean, especially if you look at the Trumpers, I mean, that's a really easy example.
That makes sense, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really obvious with the Trumpers. I'm not saying it just happens there because you see it on the left too with people.
I was just gonna say, the far left. It's also easy to see.
But it's so obvious with the Trumpers though, just because like you see them, especially after this insurrection, you see them being like, "We did it for him," like he's gonna save us he's gonna pardon us, right? He's gonna save us. Like they're literally treating this guy, which is hilarious because he clearly doesn't care about any of them at all.
Right.
But like they're treating him like he's going to save them and like he's the one that has all the answers or whatever and is the chosen one somehow. So yeah, I agree with you, and I think that it is kind of treated like a religion. Mm-hmm. Another one that's a big one. Religion is obvious. We don't have to go too deep into that. Religions have been fighting each other for hundreds of years.
No kidding. for thousands of years.
Yeah, I don't know why I said hundreds. Mm-hmm. For thousands of years. Another big one is weight dieting.
Yep,
especially that's a huge one.
Well, I'll say this: I think that's a taboo topic in the West. In the East, they have no shame.
I agree with you.
Yep. I mean, I think I had a student tell me. I think I had a student in China tell me something like, "Oh, Mr. B, have you been enjoying the Chinese food lately?"
I actually read something about that does tend to be a Western thing. I think maybe it was someone that was in an African country that was saying there's no shame around weight or anything here.
Even in countries like Germany, I don't know if it's changed since, but I just remember a conversation I had. Now, granted, this was quite a while ago. This was in 2008, so this was a while back. But I remember having a conversation with a couple Germans and them just being like, no, in Germany, we just tell it how it is. If you're overweight, we're not going to, whereas Americans, I think
we are, I hate to say this, Jared, but we're soft.
Well,
we are soft.
There's the whole thing about like diet culture in the United States, and then obviously body shaming and body positivity. These are all very positive, or excuse me, popular American,
which is
sort of
ironic,
cultural things.
Which is ironic because body positivity, the term itself means, in theory, it means you are showing a positive light to different body shapes or sizes or whatever.
Right.
But I think body positivity should really be trying to get you to be healthier and happier, be happier with your body. But at the same time, I don't like the amount of articles and stuff that you see on all sorts of different magazines, especially in the U.S., about how it's okay to be big is beautiful, all this stuff. It's like well, it's not the greatest for your health, I don't know. I have some issues with the whole body positivity movement. I think they have good intentions, but I think at the end of the day, and that's the difference between Western culture and other places in the world, is where a lot of these topics, they're not taboo just because the way they approach them is they're just more direct about it, whereas in the States, I feel like the reason why we're not direct about it, because if you're direct about it, you're actually showing that there is some type of problem or issue, which means there's actually something that you need to do in order to change or do different. And change and doing things different and living healthy isn't easy. So I think that's where it comes from.
I also think there is a culture around like expectations on looking a certain way, which is why and sort of like these like what people, I don't know, trying to say, I do think there is something to like trying to highlight that just because you don't look a certain way doesn't mean you can't be beautiful or something like that. I do really think there is something to that, but I understand what you're saying. But there is I've even seen like there have been like Lizzo is on some diet of some sort, and people are getting mad at her for promoting diet culture. And it's like, well, you like her because she is body positive, but then when she tries to do something, for her body or whatever it may be, you're like, no, you can't do that. But I think also some of that is just fans projecting, and wanting the person they like to do what makes them comfortable or happy or whatever.
Didn't Adele even get some backlash when she lost weight?
Yeah, people got on her too. Yes, that's very true. I forgot about that.
Which is really ironic. It's like you can be overweight and people are like, yes, queen, like you're this great, beautiful champion. But then if you lose the weight and,
well, that's what I'm saying. I really think it is fans projecting,
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think another one is money. Money's a big one.
Oh yeah.
Asking someone how much they paid for something, how much they make, talking about like investments.
Even just talking about finance, investments in general, I think can be an uncomfortable topic.
I hate that. I have a friend. His name's Don. I don't know why I'm acting. I don't have. It's not some secret that I'm about to say, but he has no sort of taboo around talking about money.
He has no filter whatsoever about talking about money.
So like, I'll be like, I'll be like, oh, hey, yeah, I got a new job. He's like, oh yeah, how much are they paying you? And I was like, excuse me, or he'll like tell me how much he got paid, and it almost feels like he just told me something gross and sexual. I'm like, hey, listen, I didn't ask to hear that.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even
I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that.
I don't even like it when he like tells, or not even just him, but this is an example that came to my head. But like when someone tells me like financial sort of personal stuff, I was like, you don't need to tell me these things.
Right. I don't need to know this. Yeah.
You don't need to tell me how much money you make. You don't need to tell me how much you spent on a house or something like I don't need to know. I don't need to know what your 401k or investment situation looks like. I don't need to know.
I send Jared a monthly text screen grab of my bank statements every month. Just to
I think there is some sort of protectiveness around finances for me too, like not just letting everyone know what's happening in my life financially, but I also do think there is something a little like, what's the word, uncouth about it, especially those people that are like always like, guess how much that costs kind of stuff. I mean, that's different, but even just like talking about finances or like it makes me a little uncomfortable. But I think there is a movement that I've been seeing going on on social media recently about more like financial openness and being more open about your finances, leading to more financial literacy across the board. If you're more open to talking about like so like credit card debt or like building, just building your credit, or building investing in 401k or stuff like that, and that taboo is part of the reason why we're now in a situation where millennials get made fun of because they can't buy a house and stuff like that, and they're buying avocado toast for $20, but they can't lease a car or something like that.
Which is kind of ironic though, because your average boomer, if I remember, I don't remember the percentages.
We're about to do some boomer bashing.
But yes, we are. Your average boomer, Jared, doesn't even have $1,000 saved up in like a rainy day fund, which is too bad.
Is that a boomer though? I feel like that's just your average American.
Probably. Yeah, most likely your average American. But yeah,
I don't know if that's just specific to boomers, to be honest with you.
Well, I think money is also, it's a tricky subject to talk about because, I mean, in a way, you're kind of talking about if you're in a position where you have money, you're kind of with the haves, and if you're talking to somebody who doesn't, it's the haves and the have-nots. And
it's very easy to sound like you're gloating.
Arrogant. Yep.
But then I think it's also very easy for someone to either I don't know, like you don't want to get also like some sort of fake pity or be like, oh, like someone looked down on you or something like that because you don't have as much. Like it's very easy to judge someone based off of how much money they have.
Definitely. Yeah, money is a big one, though. So you mentioned weight. Another one kind of related to weight, though, Jared, depending on where you live, age can be another big one. Age can be a really, really big taboo topic.
That's a huge taboo here in the U.S. And I wonder if it feels like it's going away a little bit, but it's certainly when we were young, when we were kids and back, like asking a woman how old they were, how old they are is like very no here in the U.S.
Right.
Or like it's and that's really the big thing. Asking a woman's age is really where the big taboo is in the U.S. at least. Why
is that? I've always found that funny. Why is that?
I think part of it might be because in society in the U.S. like youth is so
sought after,
especially if we look at, we're talking like Hollywood, like the famous people, like by the time, there's kind of the joke in Hollywood that like by the time a woman's in her 30s, she's now like, the grandmother or something, being cast as like mother and like, it can no longer be like, like the sex symbol and it really. But then for like a man, like George Clooney, he's really just getting into his sex symbol stride at like 45 or whatever. Right. So I think there is in our culture this sort of young women beauty is this sort of ideal for whatever reason. So I think it's just trying to protect that a little bit,
right?
And the judgment that comes with being old, and
sure.
I don't know. I think people also maybe just older women, maybe they just like they get looked at a little differently. Maybe you just get less sexualized or something. You just sort of like it just changes I feel like the how people look at you a lot more for women.
I think. I'm not sure what age exactly, but that's probably the age where you'll get a lot of the ladies starting to say, "Where have all the good men gone?" To that level. But age is definitely an interesting one, though, because, I mean, to some extent as well, especially if we're talking about meeting other people, especially like dating and relationships, I also want to make sure you're 18 or over.
Well, the taboo is also on the other side, too, not just... not the other side, but there's also the taboo of like the relationship where it's like someone is 20 and the other person is 62 or whatever.
Right.
There's that gap too, where although is that taboo? I don't know if that's even taboo.
I think it depends on the culture.
I'm thinking of the U.S. at least.
In the U.S. it would be, but I think there's a lot of other cultures.
I think it's kind of a taboo, but people get over it pretty quickly.
Right. I will say this though, I love always asking my students How old do they think I am? I'll tell you, Jared, when I don't have like a thick beard, usually they can gauge me pretty close. When the thicker and longer my beard gets, the older my age immediately goes to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I had a student guess last semester I was 40. I was like, oh no.
That actually must have kind of hurt.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
it's
this
like
too old,
way too old.
I started talking like this for the rest of the lecture. 40, I know, dude. It was crazy.
Did you go home and, look in the mirror, start a skin routine?
Yep. I just shaved my beard, dude. Just rapidly started just getting rid of it.
Got some lotions.
Right. Exactly. Speaking of age and weight, because I think those are are kind of related to especially dating and like, what's the right term here, Jared?
Like physical appearance.
Interrelationships or relationships in general.
I see.
Another taboo one, though, depending on the country, Jared, can be, are you married? I think in the U.S., honestly, that would be, I don't know if it's taboo. I mean, it's kind of a weird question to ask
that
depending
one,
on the situation.
I think, is also rapidly losing a taboo. But I'm sure in certain parts of the world, there's a lot more of a taboo to where if you hit some sort of certain number of age, 30 or I don't know, I'm just making something up.
Right.
Where it's like why aren't you married? And I'm sure, by the way, it still happens in the U.S. all the time. But I do feel like that's becoming less and less of a taboo.
Well, I can tell you
but I
for
think
sure.
That's certainly a kind of a religious thing, and also sort of like sort of from that sexist sort of religious thing where it's like you should have a man in your life at this point kind of thing, because that's another taboo where I think it's more on the women than the men.
Right. Oh, for sure. And just so you know, Jared, one concrete country, at least according to this website I have in front of me here, are you married? It can be a harmless question in most places, but in Afghanistan, it can be considered rude to ask a woman this question. And I'm sure, especially as a dude, I'm sure you just wouldn't ask.
Oh, is that because you're kind of, if by asking that, you're kind of making a move?
Maybe.
I imagine.
Could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah, if you're a guy asking, I could. I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
Because it's like, why are you asking? Do you want to marry me? Is that why you're asking?
Right. Exactly. Let's see here. So here, this is interesting. Okay, so here we go. So in many places like Taiwan, Sudan, and Syria, asking about one's family is a very welcome topic. But in rural Thailand, it should be avoided until the speakers are well acquainted. So that's interesting. You kind of have different levels.
Yeah, I think here in the U.S., family is a pretty open topic to talk about. That's in the workplace for sure.
Yeah,
that's a safe go-to topic.
With strangers, though, it would be weird.
Maybe. Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Think about it. If you just met somebody and they're asking you all these questions about your family, you'd be like,
that's weird. Yeah.
That is a little weird.
Yeah, but like in a work setting or like a casual or like professional, like acquaintance setting, where I think that like the topic of kids or something like that, that's a pretty safe, easy go-to topic.
Right.
For people to bond over.
For sure. Yeah. Here's an interesting one, Jared. So how much money do you make? We've talked about this a little bit, but how much money do you make is considered a rude question in countries like Croatia, Germany, and in the U.S. However, in China and Ecuador, it can be a normal topic of conversation. And what's interesting is I actually remember one of my coworkers, or really it was like a colleague of mine, I guess, he was an English language fellow. He was dating and now engaged to a Chinese woman, and he was telling me that one of the first times he had met his fiance's parents, they asked him how much he made. That was like one of the first questions they asked.
And he told them?
And he did, yeah. But now,
was it satisfactory?
He does pretty well for himself, yeah. Okay. So I think so. I mean, he's still dating her, and they're going to get married. So I'm assuming it was okay.
It must be a good feeling though if they ask you that and you say it, and they're like, "Ooh," and you're like, "Yeah, you're damn right."
Right. But that was a tricky one though, because I feel to some extent, I think people ask it for different reasons. I think some people are just genuinely curious. Some people, I think they might actually care about your. Or at least
they use it to to size you up almost.
Exactly.
I wonder now. I don't know about Ecuador, but I wonder if it's less of a taboo in a country like China because it's more socialistic, communistic leaning. So like maybe I'm thinking in a communist, more communist leaning kind of country, the amount of money that people get paid might be. This is all just guesses. Less varied, and like if there's like a government influence essentially on your pay, then maybe like if you're doing a similar job, even if you're at a different company, maybe there's more similarity there. I don't know.
Right.
Definitely. I'm just throwing out an idea. I don't know.
No, I agree with you though. I think that very well could be. Let's so we've talked about some conversational topics here, Jared. I want to give you now a couple cultural taboos, and I want to see let's see how worldly you are here, Jared. I think you're a pretty worldly gentleman here. And
thank you.
Let's test you out, and I'm going to give you some different taboos. I want you to guess the country or the area where they're from. Okay.
Where would be a taboo?
Yes.
Okay.
So first one, even numbers of flowers.
Oh yeah, we talked about this. Was this Russia or something like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wow, that was pretty.
Yep.
I was impressed myself.
Russia.
Right there.
Well, I think a lot of actually Slavic countries as well.
Okay.
I think it's more than just Russia, but Russia for sure. Even number of flowers.
Interesting. I feel like an odd number would be more offensive in the U.S. I mean, I don't think there's a general.
Well, do people actually count the flowers?
Well, a dozen roses, isn't that a thing?
I guess. Is it? I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've sent flowers.
Especially a dozen roses. I don't think I've ever done that move.
I think I did when I was in undergrad, like an idiot. But yeah.
Roses? Yeah, I could see you doing some shit like that.
Stupid idiot, but yeah. Yep.
You're just not an idiot. Why is that dumb?
It was just not worth the money, man. It was expensive. I was a poor college student, bro.
Sure.
$50 for a thing of flowers back then was a lot of money.
That's true, and you can get flowers for less than that too. Like you don't necessarily have to go with the roses.
Exactly. Okay, let me give you another one.
Okay.
No extra cheese. What country could this be?
What the hell does that even mean? What do you mean?
No extra cheese.
As an American, I don't even comprehend that sentence. What do you mean? What do you mean no extra cheese?
No extra cheese. You can't get extra cheese on your dish.
So are you saying if I were to be in this country and say, could I get that with extra cheese? They'd be like, get the fuck out of my restaurant?
If I tell you what type of food, it will give away the country. But just think about even American restaurants. What restaurant do you go to where they're like, would you like some cheese, sir?
Italy.
There you go.
Don't
there you go.
Yes. Don't tell me how to make my pizza or pasta.
Yep. Italy is popular as the land of art and cheese. This is a place where cheese is life. It's always said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. That means while you are visiting another place, follow the customs of that place. And when you're in Italy, enjoying a meal at a restaurant, you do not get to request for some extra cheese on your pizza.
I wonder if they'd be disgusted with the amount of Parmesan I put on my pizza.
Probably.
Or not my pizza,
Probably.
on my pasta. I put it on pizza too if I'm at a restaurant. But even on my pasta, it's like, hey, could you, where they're like, tell me when. And I'm just like,
the whole restaurant's covered in Parmesan cheese. Okay,
no, keep going. Okay, go back and get another block and go back up.
So this is the reason why, Jared. So, and you were right with your guess here. So, asking for extra cheese is seen as a sign that the chef did not prepare the dish well. And in Italy, the chef is always right.
That's popular in a lot of European countries. That's not just a cheese-related Italy thing, but like I've experienced that in Germany and France. A lot of countries. All these countries that really care about their cuisine. Maybe not Germany as much, but like it's not really cool to like ask for salt and pepper in a lot of restaurants, especially nice restaurants in Europe, where it's like I seasoned it. What are you talking? Like you don't like you're telling me I seasoned my food wrong. So I've experienced that in a number of European countries where it is sort of offensive to ask for seasonings in general.
Makes sense. And here I am in America just pouring hot sauce on everything. But hey, the number 4, Jared. This should be an easy one. Where's the number 4 taboo?
Oh, right. That's in Japan and also China as well, right? Because it means death.
Yes.
If you say it and it's spelled the same, but you say it slightly differently, it means death.
Yep, exactly. Now, this one, I'm not sure if you'll actually guess the country, but apparently in this country, it is considered rude or taboo to touch a person's head.
Here in the U.S., black people, as a black person, I have had many dumb whites be like, "Oh, I like your hair," and just touch my hair. I know that's not what you're talking about, but it's actually, I would say it is a proper taboo here in the U.S. where white people are sort of fascinated with black people hair, and take liberties to just reach out and touch people's heads.
Yeah, that's messed up. That's
weird.
they've
made like movies and stuff about it.
Right. Yeah. That's not cool.
But I'm sure that's not what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. But I'd say it is actually a taboo here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. The heads, touching people's heads. Mm-hmm. Is this maybe in like I'm going to say like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, maybe?
It's an okay guess, but no. Malaysia. Turns out in Malaysia.
What's the reasoning?
Doesn't really say. It just says in Malaysia, touching the head of a person
makes sense,
is considered
touching
rude
in general.
and disrespectful. Yeah?
Touching in general, touching in general is a whole different levels of taboo. Like, as we mentioned, France and Italy or something, or a lot of European countries, or South American countries, where you go in for the kiss. Mm-hmm. But if you do that in the U.S., it's kind of weird.
Yeah, for sure. So here's the reason, Jared. So people in Malaysia believe that the head is actually where the soul lies. The head is also considered the most important or holiest part of the body and is not supposed to be touched. This is also true for Buddha's statue and is true for all Malays. All this, however, does not apply to close friends and family, but seeking permission before touching the head or roughing hair is always better. So there you go.
I have heard that it is like that. The side, like the idea of like rubbing the Buddha head. That's super offensive.
Right. I think if anything, you should rub his belly. That makes more sense to me, but that's probably even more offensive. So there you go.
I was literally going to say I'm not going to weigh in on whether you should do that or not.
I just got us permanently canceled from all Buddhist countries, Jared. Okay. All right, let's go now. Do a quick speed round and see if you can guess these. And now more countries could apply to this, Jared, but I'm just going to go with the countries that are on my list here. Country where it's taboo to give a tip.
Australia.
Could be true, but I have Japan.
Okay.
Country
I know it is true in Australia too, by the way. But go ahead.
Okay, good. Place where you should not touch the opposite sex in public places.
I'd say probably most Muslim countries, I would imagine. Countries that are like that, run under sort of a Muslim faith guidelines.
Yes, I think you're right. The country I have on my list here, however, is India, but India does have a huge Muslim population. So yeah, good. Country where you should not ask someone whether or not they go to church.
Is that the U.S.?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, I was saying I could ask that.
It's in Scandinavia.
Okay, Sweden,
Norway.
Yeah, I mean I've been asked that before in work settings, and
really?
it's a very uncomfortable situation because every time I've been asked it, it's not been a shit ton of times. It's been like 2 or 3 times, but every time I've been asked it was by a religious person.
Yep.
So it's like this is going to be weird no matter what because I don't.
Their church, Jared.
It's not even trying to get me to join them. It's just they bring up religion somehow. And I don't know. It's like I don't want you to now judge me some sort of way because I'm going to tell you no.
Tell them you're an untranslatablest.
Yeah, yeah.
Just tell them that from now on. Then anyway, when they ask about it, just say it's complicated. It's complicated. All right, next one for you, Jared. Ooh, do not imitate their accent.
I mean, that's got to be most countries. That's probably annoying as hell.
Probably. But this one specifically, think of a place.
Jamaicans, maybe.
I like that guess, but no, Ireland. In Ireland, do not imitate their accents.
I was trying to think of countries that have like super imitated, like sort of generically imitated accents. Mm-hmm. Ireland is certainly one of those.
Yep. I would assume England that would apply to England as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is funny though because I think it's hilarious when people from the UK do an American accent. I think it's hilarious.
I feel like Ireland might get it even a little worse because there's like the St. Patrick's Day and leprechaun tying and all that stuff, like pot of gold and shit.
That's true. Good point. Look at the Irish.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's true. That's true. And I just got us canceled in Ireland now too, Jared. So there we go. Like, 2 for 2 today.
Exact annoying shit I was thinking.
Right. Exactly. You should get this one, Jared. What country is it taboo to celebrate someone's birthday or wish them a happy birthday ahead of their actual birthday?
Oh yeah, in Germany. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you do it on the day?
That's right.
You jinx them by doing it beforehand.
Exactly. Don't want to give them bad luck. Okay, what country should you not give umbrellas and clocks as gifts? This will be my last one for you.
Oh, I remember this because clocks. I don't remember umbrella, but I know clocks sort of represents like the passing of time, and so you're kind of like implying that like you're moving
Time's
on or
up.
getting old or like you're reaching the end of your life kind of thing. I believe it might be China.
Very good.
Oh,
Very good,
yes.
Jared.
Parada.
Very good. Well, Jared, I think we've covered some taboos from all around the world, and I think now it's time to talk about our song of the pod. That has artists from all over the world.
And also, I would say kind of involves fighting some of those taboos a little bit.
Most definitely.
I mean, the song is "Fight Up," "Get Up, Stand Up." Is that what it's called? I should.
Yep.
By
Get Up, Stand
it's
Up.
by Bob Marley, but this version is by what are they
Playing
called?
for Change.
And this is not the first Playing for Change song we've done.
We've done a couple of them now, I think, and this one's really
it's more
great.
like it's not really Playing for Change is not really a group. I feel like it's more of an organization.
It's an organization,
that gets like musicians together, and puts together certain songs and stuff like that.
And they have quite the eclectic mix of musicians on this one. That is for sure. Let's see here.
So I imagine you chose this. I imagine you chose this song. You had the song on your mind because the main focus of the session that we listened to yesterday was this song.
Yes, sir. You got it. I've been in a Bob Marley mood ever since the live stream yesterday, and so I've been.
When you listen to like a song of someone you're a big fan of, it really makes you like be like, I've not been listening to this song, right?
Right?
It's like I need to go back and listen to this again.
Exactly. And this is such a cool version because you have so many different layers, which, as we discussed earlier in today's episode, we saw the same thing with during the session's live stream. He broke down all the layers.
Is that something that really stuck with you about that song? Because there were a lot of layers in the song, but but it wasn't the fact that there were a lot of layers that really stuck out to me. It was the way that he mentioned that Bob Marley was still able to leave holes in the song, or the producer or whatever, so it didn't feel like overbearing and like too like power or like heavy of a melody. It was still very loose and light, even though there was a lot of different intricate parts going on at the same time.
You just don't notice how well they're woven in together until you break them all apart, because they're
and all the little different noises and
exactly.
Yeah.
Music is one of those weird things where you can listen to something, and until you really, really intently, closely listen to something, you might not pick up on it. I mean, I had a buddy in college. I had a buddy in college that told me one of the reasons why he loved listening to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd was because anytime he listened to any of their records, it could have been for the 10th time or the 100th time, he always could hear something new.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I experienced that even just with like new albums I listen to. I probably don't get a good understanding of the lyrics until like the fourth or fifth listen, to be honest with you. Like definitely not the first listen. The first listen, I for sure do not get a good I do not digest a lot of the lyrics, I'm a lyric-y person. I like lyrics, but they don't really sit with me the first time I listen to an album. So I enjoy. That's something I like about. That's something because we just listened to the session yesterday. When I was listening to this song, I was listening to their take on it, because there are a lot of layers in this one too, but then obviously not the same layers. Like it's not just like a recreation of Bob Marley's version. So it's like, all right, you try to see like what layers did Bob Marley have in there that they left out, or what did they put in there, or something like that. So yeah,
oh, absolutely,
it was a good choice.
Were there any artists that surprised you in this video, Jared?
I don't know about surprised me. I would say the thing that I paid a close attention to was the singing. And because I that's one of my favorite parts of the sessions is hearing just the isolated vocals. But interestingly enough, I don't think any of them, they were great, but I don't think any of them were it wasn't the same. I think I was comparing it too much to the original.
Okay. Yeah, you can't. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
One artist that did surprise me on the Playing for Change Get Up Stand Up was Keith Richards. I just didn't expect to see Keith Richards.
I don't even think I recognize that, to be honest with you, because also
do you know who he is?
Yeah, he's was it AC/DC or something like that, or
no, you don't know who he
Rolling
is.
Stones.
There you go. Yeah,
one
guitar
of those,
player for Rolling Stones.
I knew he was some old rocker.
Yep.
Is me saying AC/DC and Rolling Stones? They're nothing alike.
Nothing alike. No.
Really, I always kind of picture them as similar.
AC/DC. If you want to compare AC/DC and Rolling Stones, that would be like comparing. Would be like comparing Nas and like a Lil Baby.
What would be a good comparison for the Rolling Stones? Like a similar sort of band that they competed with in their time or something.
Well, I mean, it's not a fair one-to-one, but the Beatles, a little bit.
Interesting. So what about, really?
Yeah. The Beatles a little bit.
More
Led
poppy,
Zeppelin a little bit.
less rocky. They're not.
They were poppy and a little bluesy. They weren't as heavy as Led Zeppelin or as heavy as the Beatles.
Are they the one that do that song? Going through changes and this. People are saying,
that's the Doors. That's the Doors.
Are they
People are strange. I mean, kind of. The really big famous Rolling Stone song is "I Can't Get No Satisfaction." That's the big one.
Oh yeah, yeah. That song. Yeah, that song does nothing for me really.
Yeah. Well, Jared, clearly they can't give you any satisfaction, I guess, with that one. But I think you will get some satisfaction from the song of the pod for today. Get Up, Stand Up, Playing for Change, obviously originally written by Bob Marley. But yeah, it was fun to see Keith Richards in there. And yeah, the vocals, though, as you mentioned, Jared, for this track are awesome. So check that out on our Song of the Pod playlist on our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast. Once again, Get Up, Stand Up, Playing for Change. It's definitely will put you in a good mood, good vibes, as we used to say, chill vibes, laid back vibes, all that great stuff. So, Jared, I think we've covered some solid ground today regarding taboo topics. We discussed some of the big ones. Some reasons why those topics might be taboo. Do you have any advice for our listeners out there how to make sure to either avoid or how to handle navigating the waters of these difficult taboo topics?
I would say read the room if you have any apprehension. That's just, I think that's the saying you need to always remember. Read the room,
Yep.
What vibe are you putting out in relation to the vibe that other people are putting out? And how especially, we're talking about people that if it's a taboo, you might not realize. So it's just, read the room and tread lightly, I would say.
Exactly. And I think another thing too is if it's not something that's okay in your home country or culture, it's probably not okay in the other culture. Not always, but generally speaking, I think there are a lot of...
That's a good one. Don't do anything you wouldn't do at home.
Yep. I think that can also be a really big help. And at the end of the day, too, if you
But that's for like travel specifically.
Right.
You run into taboos everywhere. You don't have to travel to run into taboo topics.
Right. I will say this, though, Jared. I think taboo topics, it's important to be aware of them, but I think the mark of a true friend is someone who you can really talk about almost anything with.
Sure. There shouldn't be taboo topics.
Right. Like you and I, there's not really, like obviously we don't get into like super TMI stuff with one another, but I feel like most topics we can talk about.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
And I think that's really the mark of a good friendship.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah. Or a good relationship in general.
Exactly.
Do you think the whether you should or should not wear a mask is a taboo topic?
Good question.
It shouldn't be.
It definitely shouldn't be. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a taboo topic. I think that the concern is the way people react. If you question them, if you criticize them. I mean, I remember I was in Popeyes a couple weeks ago getting a delicious chicken sandwich, and there were these two, looked like hillbillies with these big giant beards that didn't have their masks on. These two dudes were ginormous. I mean, both of them were easily over 6'3", and easily over 220 pounds. And, I didn't think it was worth the.
Well, I'm with you. I mean, it's like, well, you're only putting yourself at more of a risk by being even close to them and getting into a confrontation of putting yourself in danger than if you just mind your business and get out of there as quickly as possible. But as I told you, I think last episode, like, I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to telling people to either wear their mask properly or put it on,
Right.
It's the nose one that really bothers me. Like, I'm less likely to interact with someone that doesn't have a mask at all. It's like, this person just doesn't give a shit. I have no interest in telling them what to do, but I feel like I'm getting very close to being like, can you cover your nose? There was a guy that came to my door a couple of weeks ago just soliciting something. And I cracked it mainly just so the cat wouldn't get out. But he was trying to like hand me something, and I'm like, bro, I don't even want. I was like, you don't even have a mask on, dude. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, you're right now soliciting, going door to door, trying to promote a business, your business or whatever, and you don't even have a mask on. Like, once again, read the room. Even if you don't give a shit about the mask, don't you realize where you are, and that most people in this area are conforming to the mask rule, and it's like, at least for your own business sake, put the mask on. It's just so weird. It's like, what kind of idiot would do that during a pandemic? Just go door to door without a mask on, knocking on people's door, hoping for them to answer.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's like, what?
The last thing I'll say, Jared, about taboo topics is but we need to get to a point, and when I say we, I mean more so United States and American culture. We need to get to the point where we can have a dialogue, we can have a discourse around some of these taboo topics and keep it civil, learn how to actually have discussions about these topics so we can, number one, learn more about the topics, and number two, learn more about how to just be more civil with one another. I think it would be really, really useful and would hopefully then also make taboo topics a little bit less taboo and just... we have a better understanding of it.
That's why they're taboo, because no one wants to talk about it,
Right. No kidding.
Everyone's scared.
For sure. Well, let us know your favorite taboo topics at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. We want to hear them. That would be really interesting to hear from, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You can check us out on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can slide into our DMs with some taboo topics there as well if you want. You can check us out on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. And, of course, check us out on YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast. And you can find our song of the pod for this week, Get Up, Stand Up, by the Playing for Change organization up there, also Untranslatable Podcast. And please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. Training to be a soccer announcer in Spain, Jared, so I need to work on my... That's how you get the job, Jared. You just have to, if you can keep that goal level for 15 seconds, then you're hired.
Just imagine if you worked for some sort of broadcasting company in some Spanish-speaking country, and you were legitimately hiring a new presenter, and you just had 20 people going in and out. You're like, all right, give me your best goal.
Give me your best goal.
And you're sitting in the lobby, you're just waiting, and you just hear a whole bunch of other people.
Right.
And you're in your head damn, that was 30 seconds.
Right. You're taking notes. Yeah. Well, this one didn't have they didn't go from fortissimo to,
what was that?
The crescendo was lacking here.
That was in Family Guy where it was Toucan Sam, and he's like, follow your nose. And then Brian was like, really? You're gonna do it that way? That's how you're gonna...
Oh
my God.
Man. That's funny. That is.